What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first, and we are also back. Cue the hangover meme. We are back, baby. Indeed. I want to thank everyone for their patience as the original call to post here on the network returns. We break down everything that North American thoroughbred horse racing has to offer. And of course, with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Mr. Raider Jim Martinez. Mr. Martinez, it's been a while. How you doing, sir?
It has been a while. I thank you very much for holding my place at the table. It's an honor to be back again and again. I appreciate your patience in carrying the load while I took care of some family business.
Well, we were both kind of maybe not on the same road, but we were both sitting in the same seat. We both had some family stuff to deal with. We both, I want to say I think I put the post up about a month ago that's saying, hey, we might be out for a little bit. And yeah, we've been able to kind of lock down, everything somewhat settled down for us, and we are ready to break down North American thoroughbred horse racing here on the original call to post. And folks, we're diving straight into the deep end. It is a huge weekend at Saratoga. But before we get to Saratoga, we do have, of course, some kind of housekeeping to take care of. Obviously, have been out for almost 2 months. Again, thank you all for your patience, and hopefully our rust is not too evident coming across here on this podcast. But it's been a little while, so we do have a couple things we do want to touch on before we get into the big weekend ahead. Lots of Breeders' Cup qualifiers, but I think the first thing we have to talk about is the passing of the godfather of horse racing trainers in North America, D. Wayne Lukas. He passed away late June from I believe it was a MRSA infection, and he declined treatment, went into hospice, and passed away with his family and loved ones by his side. Very, very sad. Obviously, D. Wayne Lukas is, when you say the godfather of horse racing, he truly, truly is. This is a man that won his first horse race as a trainer in 1977. He is pre-Breeders' Cup. He will never be forgotten. And I have to imagine in the coming years, I at least hope, we are going to see, and maybe we already do, and it's not on my radar, but a D. Wayne Lukas or a Lukas Stakes, a Lukas Invitational, a top grade one that we can talk about here on the podcast and remember the godfather every year. But Raider Jim, your thoughts on the passing of the legend D. Wayne Lukas?
Well, it's overused anymore these days. You talk about Michael Jordan, you talk about LeBron James, you talk about Gretzky and all these people. And some of those guys are very deserving of the acronym, the GOAT. They truly are the GOAT in their fields. But when you look at D. Wayne Lukas, he is truly the GOAT of horse race trainers. Hands down, nobody can touch him. D. Wayne Lukas, 30,436 starts, 4,953 trips to the winner's circle, with career earnings of $300,534,000. That's a good chunk of change. He had to be smiling all the way to the bank every weekend, whether he won or lost. 4 times he won. He was the Eclipse Outstanding Trainer of the Year. 14 times North American Leading Trainer for earnings. 4 times he won the Kentucky Derby. 7 times he won the Preakness. 4 times he won the Belmont. 5 times he had fillies that won the Kentucky Oaks. And 20 trips to the winner's circle in various Breeder Cup races. And that's why the coach was the GOAT of horse race training.
Amen. Yeah, it's, obviously it kind of came on the heels of Christophe Clement passing as well. And
Yes.
He was very, very well known, mainly in Europe. But with D. Wayne Lukas in North America, again, Bob Baffert, it's very similar. As a baseball fan, I used to have a shirt, and it was a picture of Ken Griffey, and on the back it said, "Your favorite player's favorite player." Well, your favorite your favorite trainer's trainer is Dwayne Lucas. He, again, he's the guy that everyone looked up to. And you mentioned the Breeders' Cup wins as well. He was also running, when there were 4 or 5 classifications for the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup has really inflated for the better, by the way. That's not a bad thing. A lot of inflation in sports is, but not when it comes to this. So, to get 25 in an era where, again, it's 4 or 5 races, essentially a half a card on a weekend somewhere. But Dwayne Lucas, I think, will be remembered as a truly generational, beyond generational. He was very obviously influential with Raider Jim, and continued to be very influential with my generation as well. And I truly do hope, again, that there is some way that we can continue to remember him. I think we're still waiting on that Cody's Wish Invitational, or right. The Cody and the last name of the young man loses my train of thought, but still waiting on that. But I do think we would love to see a Dwayne Lucas grade 1 in the future, because that man deserves it. And condolences, thoughts to everyone affected with that passing. But what an incredible, incredible life for an incredible, incredible horse trainer.
And you get out of your career sometimes what you put into it. Not sometimes, you do. The harder you train, the more you invest. When you stay there after everybody else has gone into the locker room, take a few more reps out on the field, run a few more sprints. That's what separates you from the average bear. And I remember it was just weeks before he passed away, and they did a little bit on a little segment on him before one of the big races. And one of the announcers was saying he was going to do an interview with Dwayne, and coach said, okay, we can do that tomorrow. I'm going to get a little bit of a late start. Total seriousness. I'm going to get a little bit of a late start, because he wasn't going to get to the track until 3:45 in the morning.
Goodness gracious. That's what it takes, though. That's what it takes to be the GOAT. Truly 3:45. That's apologies for my tardiness. Incredible. Right. Incredible. But moving on to the task at hand. Obviously, normally we're with you all summer. This year, of course, we had that little speed bump, and Del Mar essentially in full gear. We're 10 days away from the Classic, very close to wrapping up the summer session. Yeah. A lot has been going on, not just at the Seaside Oval, but also throughout the country. Raider Jim, I don't know if you have the jockey and trainer standings on hand, but we'll start there.
You bet I do. We have 19 days in the books at Del Mar. For those of you who have not followed Del Mar for too many years, it is a reduced schedule anymore. Ever since COVID, they took out a couple days, so they only race Thursday through Sunday anymore. But still, plenty of racing, a lot of good racing. You'll notice that Flavian Pratt has gone back and forth. There's a lot of weekends where he is hustling I'll see him at Saratoga on Saturday, and doggone, he's riding in the 3rd race at Del Mar on Sunday. I would just be exhausted. I don't know how these guys do it. But after 19 days in the books, here's where we're at. No surprise, Juan Hernandez, #1 jockey at Del Mar, 104 mounts, 29 trips to the winner's circle, 15 places, 7 shows. He has $2.25 million in earnings. Antonio Fresu is second, having another bang-up year. He continues to be solid, the go-to jockeys at Del Mar. 132 mounts, 21 wins, 29 places, 20 shows, $1.57 million. And Hector Barrios is up third, 78 mounts, but 18 times to the winner's circle, 13 show places, 14 shows, $1.2 million. It's that thing. You don't have to have a lot of mounts. You have to have the right mounts. You have to win the big races. Hector's definitely doing that. Top 3 trainers, no surprise. Guess who's at the top? That white-haired guy, and I don't mean me, with the sunglasses, Bob Baffert. And what I just said about Hector Barrios, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Bob Baffert, only 41 entries so far in Del Mar. 16 trips to the winner's circle, 8 places, 3 shows. So in the money 3 times, or 27 times, $1.5 million in earnings in 19 days. Phil D'Amato is in second with 80 entries. 11, 13, and 11. He's banked $1 million. John Sadler is third with 48 entries, and he's got 11 trips to the winner's circle, 7th place, 6 show, and $733 million. But you see that drop off. Mm-hmm. Bob Baffert basically doubled what Sadler has, and they're only the top 3 guys. So that's what's happening at Del Mar right now. We're going to talk about one of the grade 2s coming up this weekend. As far as grade 1s go, since Del Mar has started, there were some good graded races out there. And as soon as my computer wants to cooperate, I'm going to be able to against my screen. There we go. Let's start with Saturday, the 26th of July. It was the Bing Crosby handicap, $400,000. This was the upset. World record. The number 5 horse came in third. Flavian Pratt could only manage the favorite at basically 2.5 to 1 to get third. Hijazi, number 3, came in second. That was just under 5 to 1. And Lovesick Blues, 19 to 1, came in first place, really upsetting the dinner table at the Bing Crosby handicap. Then we had on August 2nd, the Clement Hurst Stakes, also $400,000. This one was a little more back to reality. Even money. Bob Baffert, Juan Hernandez, number 1, Seismic Beauty, got the win. Number 7, Copion got placed, and just under 2 to 1. And then Richie, another Bob Baffert entry, 3.5 to 1, came in third. 8 entry, or out of the 6 entries in that race, Bob Baffert had 3. So he was sure to finish in the money somewhere along the way. I do want to make note of the number 7 horse Copian, who came in second. Richard Mandela was the trainer. The jockey, Kazushi Kimura. Let me tell you, watch Kazushi Kimura, because he is having quite a fine season out at Del Mar. He's going to be a game changer out there. That's a name you're going to be hearing a lot anymore out here on the West Coast. And then last week we had, Saturday the 16th, it was the Del Mar Oaks, $300,000. Now, another upset. Thought Process, the 10 horse on the outside, Phil D'Amato, Umberto Rispoli, just over even money on that, came in third. What about the next best horse, or the next favorite horse? 5, Lush Lips, just under 2 to 1. Brandon Walsh, Tyler Gaffalone came in second. Well, then who came in first? Of course, it was Ricardo Gonzalez, trained by Michael McCartney, and it was number 3 Velocity at 35 to 1. That was your upset of the day. And because of the second and third place horses, you didn't even get a good trifecta ticket.
Yeah. Pulled that down big time. Love to see Fresu at the top. I mentioned him last year, or near the top, that he's kind of been a big, what's the word I'm looking, beneficial factor in what you brought up. Look, Saratoga's running a massive card on Saturday. So all the big boys that have an opportunity when it comes to the jockeys, they're heading back east. I'm sure we might see some of them come back for Sunday, but I think Antonio Fresu over the past two summers, and probably even into the Bing Crosby season, but definitely the summers, has been able to pick up some mounts in some places that maybe he wouldn't have normally gotten if the big boys were there. Pratt were there, JJ Hernandez were there, Saez, people like that. But the fact that he was able to get those mounts, and obviously he's a hell of a jockey, and I've had my eye on him. I'm very excited to see where he's going, and who knows, maybe in 3 years we're talking about some other upstart because Antonio Fresu is running back and forth, because that's kind of what happened with Rispoli, or Umberto Rispoli. He released where he got onto my radar. So I'm very, very excited to see that. And overall, I think Del Mar continuing. I am a little bit bummed. There's still really good racing, but I love the Wednesday races. Thursday, it's all right, but I love the old Wednesdays where you could kind of split your week in half, take a Wednesday off, and you kind of have quasi weekends back to back. I don't know, but anyways, that was nice. But the fact that Del Mar is still able to, be a beautiful seaside oval, but continue to bring in the people that they do, the jockeys that they do, the horses that they do. It's a big reason why in 3 months, we're going to be talking about the Breeders' Cup right down the road. Cannot wait for that going forward. But around the rest of the country, just a couple others that we've seen. Just 3 I have noted. In the Jim Dandy, we saw Sovereignty continue their dominant run this year. We'll talk about that horse later. In the Whitney, Sierra Leone got the job done as it continues off of a really good year last year. And in the 4-star Dave Handicap, Deterministic, another top-notch horse, gets another grade 1 win. And one final piece of news that I actually saw last week, Torpedo Anna, great news. It does look like we are going to see, and I wrote on the notes, I just realized how ridiculous this says, but Torpedo Anna is likely to race in 2026, despite what my notes say that she will race in 2025, because obviously. But anyways, Hill and Dale Farms, they've invested in her. I believe they've got at least a controlling or majority interest in her. So they've seemed like if everything goes to plan, we will see Torpedo Anna run in 2026, which is great news because we've kind of seen the trend go in the opposite direction for some of these top-notch horses. Flightline, I'm looking at you. Even if that was the right decision, man, I would have loved to see her 4-year-old year. But anyways, Raider Jim, your thoughts on some of those or any other news topics we might have missed?
Sovereignty is the horse to beat these days. Yeah. I mean, just hands down. I don't know that anybody, and as you said, we'll be talking about Sovereignty and the 2 or 3 competitors that will be in that race. There's not that many. But the one that I really like of the 3 races that you mentioned, I don't know if you really had a chance to watch Sierra Leone and how that race finished, but my goodness, that horse came out of nowhere. And Flavian Pratt said after the race, you know, going down the backstretch, I didn't know if I'd have enough horse going around the home turn. But when I asked him to respond, I got a response, and that was it. But man, that was really, really something.
And the best part about that is I kind of think about, I mean, Sierra Leone, I believe it was last year in the Classic, finishing second, out by a nose or a head or a half length, whatever it was. And for me, it was kind of like, man, I love that horse, but it just always seemed to just, you know, be a dollar short every time. But for Sierra Leone to kind of, I don't want to say get over the hump, because this is a horse that's won grade 1s, but to get a big win. I mean, like I said, in the Whitney, I think, as you mentioned, and we're going to talk about the Travers. You talked about the competitors, and again, air quotes and those, goodness gracious. But we'll get there. But I think Sovereignty might be even money right now if the Breeders' Cup Classic were to go tomorrow. This is a horse that had by far the best year out of any of the 2-star, the 2-turn horses that would be eligible for that race. Very interested to see the continued progression of Sovereignty, but in the Jim Dandy, got the job done. Travers, I think Sovereignty expected to see a little bit more competition, but again, we'll get there. But it's been a very interesting kind of summer as we get ready for, as we say, the Breeders' Cup. We're getting pretty much towards I don't want to say bitter end of the qualifiers, but as I say, I think we have at least, we got 4 Breeders' Cup qualifier races that we're going to talk about here. It's a nice little segue, obviously, as I mentioned. Saratoga, a massive, massive Saturday slate. Lots of money in purses to be handed out. And then Del Mar, we do have Saturday that we'll have that Pat O'Brien Stakes preview. But let's start with Saratoga. Let's start chronologically. We're going to be looking at the Lake Placid, the grade 2. This is race number 7 on the Saratoga card. This will be going off, looks about 2:35 Eastern, 11:35 Pacific. Do the math in between. We are going 1 full mile on the inner turf course. This again, the grade 2 Lake Placid Stakes. Raider Jim, I'm going to let you get the first bite at the apple. What are your thoughts on the Lake Placid?
Very good. Small field, only 6 entries, and the pace setters say that the horses that will set the pace on this one out of the gate are going to be the 5 horse, which is Scarlet Sands, Play with Fire on the rail, and then you're going to have Warming. Warming is right in the middle there at the 4th position. Those are the horses that are going to set the pace. But what's going to happen during the race? Play with Fire right now, Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt, that is the horse to beat. Now, number 2 looks really good on paper. 7-2 right now. Irad Ortiz is going to be on the saddle. Runs very, very well, or ran very, very well out in France. It's one of those situations, though, where it's kind of hard, or at least it was for me, to find what were the real speed records on that, or speed ratings. I couldn't really find it. 7-2, probably a very competitive horse. I'm certainly not going to knock that horse. Number 3, Mayday Ready, also a very strong competitor, currently at 5-2. Jose Ortiz is going to be riding Mayday Ready. But the one that I think is going to upset people, and if you want a little bit more value for your car or for your ticket, I like number 4, Warming. 6-1 right now. Warming has been banging it up on the training and looks really, really good. I think Warming is going to surprise everybody. Don't be surprised to see Warming even get a place in this one.
Yeah, this is a very interesting race. You mentioned only 6 entries. The 2 horse definitely caught my attention, but again, it is so difficult with, the European horses. We're so used to the North American buyer scores. We're so used to kind of everything. Okay, we can, grade this versus that, blah, blah, blah. But the time form is what's used over there. Definite drop in its last run, Chantilly in France. But you're also on a right-hand turn as well. That's another factor to keep in mind. And it was an ungraded stakes race. I don't know what really that means too much over there. I left it off my card just because, with no disrespect to the European horses, it's just difficult because I do think there's a lot of value, and Warming is definitely one of them. I love the consistency, but we are going to need to see a bump here, especially against some of these top horses. Another horse that's underneath on me, or for me, I should say, is the 6 horse, Raining Flowers. I'm intrigued by this horse. And the reason I kind of keep it underneath is I question whether or not that last run in the Lake George was a fluke, rather than what we actually will see from this horse. This horse was pretty much middling in the 70s and then came out in that grade 3 at 14-1 and put up an 89 on a mile 16 on the Saratoga turf. Not this exact track in terms of, or I'm sorry, not the exact distance, but I do believe that was the inner turf. Really, really interested to see what this Raining Flowers can do. But again, 4-1, I need to see more value for a horse that I've only really seen run one really good time. So for me, it kind of came down to Play with Fire and Mayday Ready. I gave my nod to Mayday Ready probably because of the value here, 5-2. We'll see how it goes. But the one thing that I really do like about Mayday Ready is I think it's finally found a graded stakes race that it fits into a little nicer than this. You might look at the numbers and go, what happened in the Wonder again? That was a race at Saratoga early June. I think we might have even previewed it. That was a race that was moved from the turf onto the dirt, and only 3 horses ran. So, Mayday Ready finished 3rd. We'll put that in air quotes. But I don't really think the horse finished the race. I think it was ease. But that was a bad run. But again, we moved that horse off of turf onto sloppy dirt. You can kind of expect that horse to struggle. That's why it's at the top of my ticket. But in terms of Play with Fire, you're not going to be able to beat the jockey trainer combo of Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown. Again, my only issue here is the value. And one other thing is we are looking at a pretty big step up in class. Graded stakes races at Saratoga. No, love it. But, it's Chad Brown making the call. So take that maybe with a pinch of salt, but I did want to kind of bring that up. Two very opposite horses in terms of experience of who they've been racing, between Play with Fire, who again, you know, the Apple, the Wild. Oh, that's actually, no, I don't know what that is. I'm not even going to try it. But $150,000 ungraded stakes race. This is a $400,000 stakes race. And Mayday Ready was running in grade 1s, grade 3s, even ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. So I give my nod to Mayday Ready just because the experience, I do believe, lends itself a little bit more to that horse. So moving on to this will be race number 9, the grade 1 personal ensign. We are going 1 mile and 1/8 on the dirt. This is for 4-year-old fillies and up. A $500,000 purse. I'll get this one started. Obviously, this is one of, actually, this is a Breeders' Cup qualifier race, as I get the rust off, as I got to make sure I check my notes. A win here will get you into the Breeders' Cup distaff. Obviously, all of your travel and stable fees will be covered if you get into the winner's circle. So a very, very competitive field here. The horse that's underneath for me is going to be the 3-horse Raging Sea. It's not going to be too often you see a horse like this at 5-1. I really do think that it's probably on paper, probably should be the 3rd, 4th, maybe even 5th choice when it's all said and done in terms of the betting line odds. But I really do look at what this horse has put on the card. Even last year, this is the defending champ of the personal ensign. 6 of the runs on this track at Saratoga have finished in the money. Obviously, this is a horse that's made over $2 million. I think whenever you can get a horse like Raging Sea at 5-1, I'm a big fan of that underneath there. But now we get to some of the heavy hitters here. I think maybe the best value of the day is going to be the 1-horse Randomize. You can make a case that outside of Torpedo Anna, Randomize is the best 2-turn filly in the world, and she is currently 4-1. Chad Brown trained. I really do think that this horse is undervalued here. So really, really like that. I do want to see a return to that Ogden Phipps form, going all the way back to last June here at Saratoga. It wasn't a great Ogden Phipps run earlier this June, unfortunately, for Randomize, but I think that's a bit of a overreaction because really did dominate. It was a grade 3 Molly Pitcher, big drop in class, but ran in 98. Very, very impressed there. 4-1. Love the value. But my number 1 horse, obviously, we talked about her at the beginning, how excited we are to see her run in 2026 as I knock on wood. 6-5, the 7-horse Torpedo Anna. She is the best filly in the world, or at least in North America, probably the world. And again, we have seen her struggle. Raging Sea is in this race. She took her down in the La Troyenne earlier this year, but I do think that was more of, look, Torpedo Anna is mortal, but very, very close to immortal. I think she gets the job done. 6-5. It's honestly rare you're going to see her above even money on the morning line. I would love to see it stay to even money. It's not going to. But the value, big time issue, but she has to be at the top of everyone's ticket if you're giving betting advice. The one thing I will say, she has already qualified for the Breeders' Cup Distaff, so this might be a little bit of just another feather in the cap. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Breeders' Cup qualifier to the Distaff, the grade 1 personal ensign stakes?
Yeah, true enough on Torpedo Anna now. A couple races ago, had a little bit of a slip up, as you mentioned, but right back to form. Other than that, this is as perfect of a horse as you're going to get. The questions out there with some handicappers is she reaching the end of her dominance? And I really can't say that she is. I can't say that she isn't, but it will be something to watch. As you mentioned, the 3-horse Raging Sea, 2024 winner of this race, and has beaten Torpedo Anna. And if somebody can come out there and make it 2 in a row over Torpedo Anna, it's going to be Flavian Pratt on Raging Sea. Interesting to see how at 5-1, how they handle the race. Randomized, as you mentioned, at 4-1, great value on the rail there. The one I like that I'm going to have on my ticket that I think not really that big of an upset, but still people are kind of overlooking her. Some people, I should say, not everybody, because at 4.5-1, people are still, obviously, there are handicappers who believe in her. The 6-horse, Leslie's Rose. Leslie's Rose has been training well. Leslie's Rose has been performing well. Watch for Leslie's Rose to make this a race coming down the stretch. Oh, one other thing. Mm-hmm. I used to be I would talk big about Darth Vader, and at 6-1, very good value. But you know what? The 4-horse Darth Vader just is too inconsistent and just not performing like Darth Vader used to.
Honestly, when you went through that kind of little soliloquy before you gave the odds on Leslie's Rose, I thought you were going to go with Darth Vader, because that's been a horse that's always near the top of your ticket, definitely on it. But yeah, you're right. And it's no disrespect to Darth Vader as well. I think it's more of what this horse or what this race has in it, or the competitors. Again, you're probably looking at 3 of the top 5 distaff contenders in this race, and unfortunately Darth Vader isn't one of them. But who knows? A heck of a run here could get there. But again, we're talking about a horse that has been inconsistent, as you mentioned. And yeah, Leslie's Rose was one for me that it's probably going to make it onto my ticket, because I'm not going to be able to bet Torpedo Anna unless something wild happens. I mean, if I can get her at 2-1, I'll put my pennies on it just to say, hey, I got this. But anyways, Leslie's Rose is definitely, I'm interested to see what the odds do there as well, because there's a chance she may be forgotten. It maybe gets to 6-1. And I think we would all be very, very happy to see that. But yeah, Torpedo Anna, this is, I think, any race that she's in the filly and mare division, I think it has to be hers. But again, I just wonder if that La Troyenne run was better, would she be racing in the Travers? Well, I guess, no, that's only for 3-year-olds, I believe, but, or at least trying to run with the boys, because earlier this year, they were hoping that maybe, just maybe, she could make it into the Classic. But I think the La Troyenne run put some damper on that talk, but it'd be very interesting. Moving on to race number 10 at Saratoga as we continue to chug along. It is the Grade 1 H. Allen Jerkins Memorial Stakes. We are going 7 furlongs on the dirt. This is going to be for 3-year-olds with a purse of $500,000. Raider Jim, give you the first bite at the apple at the Allen Jerkins Memorial Stakes.
Yeah, this field is probably one of the tougher fields to handicap or to look at and say, we have a clear winner here. 8 entries. There's only one that is probably, you question why Captain Cook is in there running out of the 7th spot. Take the other 7 horses, though, and it's anybody's race the way I see it. Bob Baffert, out of 8 entries, he has 3. The pace setters say it's going to be 2, 8, 6, and 5. 2 is Midland Money coming out of the 2nd spot, and then it's 8 Madaket Road, one of Bob Baffert's horses, and even at 6-1, probably his best entry in this race through my eyes. Then the 6 horse is Smokin' Wicked. Smokin' Wicked is right now at 6-1, I believe, and then on the 5 horse it is Verifier, which is the favorite at 4-1 right now. I see Verifier winning this race at 4-1. Brad Cox, Flavian Pratt. I think that they are going to be able to put together the right race. Flavian's going to be able to ride the horse great out of the 5 spot. Patch Adams, the horse on the rail at 3-1. Gotta love the chances to finish in the money there, as well as Chancer McPatrick, the 4 horse running right next door to Verifier. Watch Chancer McPatrick at 5-1. I like that. Now the Barnes running in the 3 spot, 9-2. Another one of Bob Baffert's entries. kind of confusing because has not performed extremely well in its 4 entries, but there's a reason Bob Baffert does these things. Why does he train the horses the way he does? Why does he bring them from Santa Anita all the way across the East Coast when they're not burning it up? So watch Barnes. Barnes could be the surprise underneath and finish in the money. But again, for me, give me 5 Verifier, 1 Patch Adams, 3 Chancer McPatrick, and then again, I would go 8 Madaket Road if I wanted a 4th on my ticket.
Yeah, this is a Del Mar race. This is a Del Mar grade 1.
Exactly.
What's Baffert doing here? We're in Saratoga, sir. You don't get to put 8 horses on the board. But no, in all seriousness, it was kind of like, oh, hey, you're back. And I'm pretty sure he's been back obviously well before this weekend, but he definitely, especially in this race, is kind of saying, hey, the big man's here. But it's a very, very tough race to handicap. I'm really glad you said that because I was in knots looking up this race. Barnes is going to probably get underneath on mine. I want that number to get to 5 or 6, which I think it could. I really, really do believe that, look, this horse cost $3.2 million at the yearling sale. And this is Zidane and Bob Baffert coming together. This is their horse. They wanted this horse to be a 2-turn horse, as all trainers want them to be. Unfortunately, it did click in the San Felipe. But the Santa Anita Derby, I think they tried to stretch her out going a mile and an eighth. It did not go well. She did not run well. But this is back to 7 furlongs. This is where she won her first graded stakes race. His first graded stakes race. I do like Barnes, but underneath, and I need to see that number inflate, not deflate. If it gets even lower than 9-2, even if it holds at 9-2, it probably won't be on my ticket. I do have Chancer McPatrick underneath as well. I think there's a huge return to form run in the Curlin. There's a lot of kind of talk about, whether or not I think it was the Warren Stevens earlier this year at Saratoga, ended up taking Flavian Pratt off and gave the mount to Irad Ortiz, ran very, very well in the Curlin. I like the jockey trainer combo. You're not going to see Irad Ortiz, Chad Brown going off at 5-1 too often. But I will say massive jump up in class from the last ungraded stakes race in that Curlin. But this is a horse that's been running in grade 1s pretty much its entire career. So nothing crazy to overreact in the class jump there. Another one that's unfortunately this is why this race is so difficult. Another underneath that I'm going to have to figure out is Midland Money. This is a very intriguing horse to me. Baffert is kind of a chess player when he comes to this. Obviously broke its maiden earlier this June, I should say, or earlier in June. That was at Santa Anita, and Bob Baffert said, you know what? I want this horse in this race. So what does he do? He ships him out there in early August and runs in an optional claiming, and this horse wins by 3 lengths, dominates everybody, pretty much went off at even money. Third different jockey, that's something to keep in mind, but underneath, I do think at 8-1, I would not be surprised if we all went, oh, okay, Baffert knew something there. I love the value there. Now, definitely the top 2 on my ticket. I think we're both on the same. We might be a little flipped. I actually have Verifier as my number 2 here. Another horse that cost $1 million at the yearling sale. 3 for 3, and everything's been 90 plus, 91 plus to get specific. But we do have a class, big jump up in class. But considering this is its 4th race, not the biggest thing, because not a whole lot of horses are going straight into graded stakes races by their 4th race. Verifier, very good horse, 4-1. But for me, I think Patch Adams on the rail, Brad Cox, Luis Saez. I love the post position. I think this horse, it didn't have a great run in the Tampa Derby, but this horse would have been a top 5 or 6 horse on the tote board in the Derby. If it would have ran, I think it had bad luck. Last time out was a career best, and it was on this track in a graded stake or grade 1. I really, really like Patch Adams here. 3-1. I'd like it to hold there, but either Patch or Verifier is going to drop closer to 2-1, and I think some of these others are going to inflate. But I really do think it's those two at the top, and then there's some underneath that you can kind of squabble for. But really, really good competitive race you're going to be seeing in the Alan Jerkins Memorial Stakes. Moving on to the Grade 1 Ballerina. This is going to be 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's going to be for 3-year-old fillies and up. We also have a purse of $500,000. Here we go. I'll get this one started. Horse number 8 is actually going to be at the top of my ticket. 5-1. I don't love the post position, but I love the value of this horse at 5-1. Didn't run very well in the Chicago at Churchill earlier this year. I understand that, but kind of dropped down and ran a career best here at Saratoga on this track, on this distance. I really, really like the value, and I love my main squeeze on this one. Then underneath that, let me just get my notes. Sorry. The 9 horse is going to be my number 2 pick here. 3-1 Hope Road, a very, very good race horse. But last time out, left a little to be desired. There are a lot of horses that would love for an 86 buyer score to be considered a drop in form, but Hope Road dropped, was running in triple digits in its last 2 graded stakes races. Again, I think the post position could be an issue here, but it's a long backstretch, nothing crazy. It's only 1 turn. So keep an eye on that. And again, I do believe I forgot. Yes, I apologize. This is a Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint qualifier race. So excuse me, the winner of this will have their opportunity to run at Del Mar. And then underneath, I'm going to go with the 5-horse Claret Beret. Look, this is a bit of a long shot here at 6-1. The numbers are definitely a little less than, if you will. But I think there's a lot of early speed in this race. Obviously, look, it's a sprint race, technically 7 furlongs. But I think there's going to be a lot of early pace. I wonder if sometimes when you have 3 or 4 horses that all need to get on the lead, if maybe those 3 or 4 horses run themselves out before maybe they need to. And then you have a closer, or as close of a 1-turn closer as you can get with Claret Beret. I really do like the 5-horse at 6-1. And finally, underneath, look, I think it's the favorite going through. Yeah, it is. It's the 7-horse Cilia. It's 7 furlongs. So there's not a lot of late speed. So she is also going to stalk as well. She is a value, she is a savvy vet, but she did drop down because of value. 5-2, this is a very good horse, but 5-2, I just don't see it. I don't see this horse being the favorite in this race. I didn't like its run last time out. It's 3 races on Saratoga dirt, never won. I don't know. I just don't like the value. It's underneath. I knew I had to say Cilia because there are a lot of people who are probably going to bet this horse to win, but not my style. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Grade 1 Ballerina?
Couldn't have said it better myself. I don't know if this caught your eye when you were looking at this race. It was one of those weird things that my head gets stuck on, and that is 9 entries. And the first 4 are all double figures, and then everything just kind of comes close together when you look at positions 5 through 9. You got 6-1, 6-1, 5-2, 5-1, 3-1. Very interesting when it all lines up like that, because if you you usually figure that there's going to be a little bit of variance between post position, how it's going to finish, and how you bet. But everything I looked at, every combination I had, was all set on horses 5 through 9. And so that's where I'm ending up. I'm with you. Cilia is a great horse, good horse. I'm kind of surprised that it is going to go off possibly as the favorite at 5-2. I don't see it, because for my money, I like Hope Road, the 9 horse. At 3-1, not that great of a value. Bob Baffert, Jose Ortiz. However, since August of last year, this horse has only run in graded races. 3 grade 3s, 1 grade 2, 2 grade 1s, and in those 6 races has finished in the money in all but 1. And since July, over the entire month of July, and even I think within the last week or so, absolutely smoking in the workouts. So that to me tells me that Hope Road is going to be the horse to beat, followed by, believe it or not, the number 8 horse, My Main Squeeze at 5-1. You got a really good value. Then I got stuck. I know Cilia will probably be on my ticket, but if you want one more to go underneath, who do you pick? Well, you've got 2 horses at 6-1. For me, it was almost a toss of the coin. Claret Barrette is just really, really a fine horse. Saffy Joseph has this horse running well, and you've got Irad Ortiz. Irad does get the most out of this horse, but when you look at the horse, his neighbor, number 6, Zeitlos, Junior Alvarado, Steve Asmussen at 6-1, you couldn't ask for a more even matchup between the 5 and the 6 horse. It is going to be a fantastic race between those two. I tossed my coin. I went with the 6 horse. You went with the 5 horse. So I've got 9, Hope Road, 8, My Main Squeeze, 7, Cilia, and 6, Zeitlos.
Yeah, I'll say this. Zeitlos probably would have maybe taken Claret Barret's spot. The only thing is, I'd really like that last time out, that 97. I'd really like that to be on dirt. It's just odd for me to see a horse just randomly run a turf sprint race. So that was just for me kind of but yeah, you're right. It's 5-9. More than likely, if you can find something 1-4 that you like, more power to you. You're going to find a ton of value there. It's just, yeah. I think everyone, and even the odds makers as well, all on the same page that probably outside is where you're going to find your money, people. So moving on to the grade 1 Forigo. This is going to be, yes, a Breeders' Cup qualifier dirt mile. Now, this is a little interesting because, look, it's a Breeders' Cup qualifier into the dirt mile. We're going 7 furlongs. Saratoga doesn't run mile dirt races. And if you're unfamiliar, a furlong is just a fancy way of saying 1/8 of a mile. So it's, not a true mile, but, anyways, I just wanted to get that out of the way because that was kind of one, like when I pulled that up, like, wait, if this gets you into the mile, why aren't we going 7 furlongs? And then you look at the track layout and you go, oh, okay. Unless you want to start on the midpoint of the front turn, you're probably just going to have to go 7 furlongs. So anyways, Raider Jim, your thoughts on the 7 furlong grade 1 Forigo Stakes?
Yeah, it's obvious to me. There's a favorite in this race. That's the only favorite. The horse to beat, number 4, Bookham Dano, has had a fantastic year so far. Is going to continue to be fantastic during this race. So who fills in underneath? I've got it narrowed down to, unfortunately, I'm not looking at anything here that's going to be a big upset. Now, as I said on the previous race, you looked at the first few horses and those were all the double figure odds. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of came together. You look at this one, you've got 3 horses through 11. You wonder if they're even going to be on the track, or will they maybe pull them? I don't know that it's really going to be 11 entries when the race starts. So now we've got more of the field where favorites are mixed in with long shots, etc. I do like the number 1 horse, 5 on the rail, Most Wanted, to make it a race for place or show, but I don't see Most Wanted making a challenge. I do see the 1 horse that could maybe make a challenge is the 7 horse Mulligan. That is going to be ridden by Flavian Pratt. And right now at 7-2, not a bad value. You're not going to make a lot of money, but you've got Bookham Dano at 8-5. You've got Most Wanted at 5-1, Mulligan at 7-2. And then just for good measure, go with that 2 horse, the Neighborton 1. Brad Cox, Irad Ortiz. Right now at 6-1, Bishop's Bay, real good value, and I would strongly look at that horse.
Yeah, I'm going to start with my underneath picks. Very similar to you. I really do like the one horse, Most Wanted.
Yeah.
A little too much of a class jump because this is, I mean, the top of the top. Obviously, when it comes to, you know, the 7 furlong / mile class. And yeah, this is a very, very tough place to run, but you know, ran in the grade 2, grade 3. This will be its first grade 1. Even last time out, ran in an optional claiming. Obviously, you know, just to kind of get things rolling, nothing out of control. Ran a 101. A very, very good horse there. 5-1. Love the value. Same thing with his neighbor, just like you, Bishop's Bay. Again, Brad Cox, Irad Ortiz at 6-1. That doesn't happen too often. And I really do like the value here. Horse hasn't lost since January. So this is a horse that's been very, very good this year. Continuing to, work towards possible Breeders' Cup, and a win here gets you in there. One other one that I do want to bring up. Now, as Raider Jim alluded to, you're looking underneath. More than likely, there's a heavy, heavy favorite here. Unfortunately, the last 2 races at Saratoga, it's kind of the same theme. But the 3-horse Full Moon Madness is 20-1. Now, look, I don't think this horse is going to win. I'm not even 100% sure this horse is going to get in the money. But this horse should not be 20-1. I don't understand it. I don't know if Kenneth Carmouche, peed in someone's coffee at the track. I do not get it. This horse ran a 98 last time out. It's ran in graded stakes races. Again, I'm not sitting here saying this is the horse that's going to win. This is a horse that won the Tom Fool with a 98. At 20-1, I think it has to make it onto your card. Again, it's an older horse. It's 5 years old, but last time out, ran 98, which is pretty much as good as we've seen recently. Might even be a career best. It is. So I just think everybody needs to stop what they're doing and look at Full Moon Madness and probably bet it. But anyways, now we get kind of to the meat and potatoes of things. Obviously, when you are looking at this race, I think it's 2 at the top, and there's a very, very big gap between all 3 of these. Bookham Dano is by far the best horse in this race. It's probably not even close. This is a horse that seems to warm up as the weather does, kind of starts slowly in January, and even kind of ends slowly if it does run in December. But once we get into the summer, running in the triple digits, last time out in the Vanderbilt, a 111, took care of Mulliken, who finished in second by 2.5 lengths. Value is going to be an issue here. 8-5 is the morning line. It will not stay above even money, in my opinion. So you're looking for value elsewhere. Hopefully Mulliken can get some inflated numbers. I don't love this. I might just put a bunch of play show tickets and really look at what was that 3-horse that I called out, Full Moon Madness. But anyways, his last 2 runs here have been incredible, but unfortunately they've been in second place runs to Bookham Dano, and he's been a length or more off in both of those. So I in good conscience, I can't sit here and say, oh, Mulliken. We got to go with the chalk. It is what it is. Bookham Dano, Mulliken, I believe, are the class of this field. So it's going to be interesting, but I really do think there's a ton of value with Full Moon Madness. I still don't quite understand that. But going to be a heck of a race. Raider Jim, do you have any final thoughts on that?
On that one, no.
All right. Moving on to our final race of the day. It is supposed to be, it usually is, the main event of Saturday at Saratoga of Travers weekend. Of course, it is the Travers Stakes. going to put an asterisk on this, Travers. I like to stay positive, try to stay positive, but as me and Raider Jim both kind of mentioned before, the favorite might have scared everyone away. So with that being said, it is the Grade 1 Travers Stakes. We are going 1.25 miles on the dirt. This is for 3-year-olds with a purse of $1.3 million. And we could only get 5 horses to declare. But anyways, $1.3 million is the purse. This will be race number 13 on Saratoga's card. I'll get this one started. Obviously, it is going to start and everything in the middle is going to be about the 4-horse Sovereignty. This is probably the best horse in North America right now, and nobody wants to race it, apparently. With all due respect to all the other horses in this race, very good horses, but they are not at the level of Sovereignty. It's 2 to 5 morning line. I don't know. I don't really know what to say. There's a lot to say about Sovereignty, but I feel like it's wasted in a race like this. So we're looking for value elsewhere. And unfortunately, in a 5-race field, you're only getting paid out twice. So as we look for those contenders, I'm just going to throw the 2-horse out there only strictly for the reason, look, this is a type of race that if you like to bet horses because of their names, just bet the 2-horse Bracket Buster. College basketball, two and a half months away. That's my thought process on this race. I'm so disheartened by the Travers reading this card. I don't know. Bracket Buster, it's a cool name. It might make it on my card. Continuing to look at some underneath value. McAfee, again, 20 to 1. I like the value here. Ran well in the West Virginia Derby, but I mean, we're talking about a horse that ran in the West Virginia Derby. No disrespect, even the Ohio Derby, no disrespect to those, but you're running in that, and now you're running in the Travers. That's not just a class jump, that's a universe jump. It's incredible that some of the horses that we are going to see in this race, and I'm trying to stay positive. These other horses are very, very good. It's just very disheartening for a Travers card. But I will say, I think number 2, or the number 1 horse will be, my main underneath pick, but it's 2 to 1. You can't even find value there. This is a horse that ran a 105, very impressive. But again, it was in an ungraded stakes race in the Iowa Derby at Midwest Prairie. It's just crazy to see the horses and where they've come from to now race at Saratoga in the Travers. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Grade 1 Travers?
Yeah, a $1.25 million purse. It's almost disheartening to see that this is the field out there. Do you agree?
It is. And I mean, I understand it. Sovereignty's a really good horse, but second place pays, third place pays. I think everyone's getting paid in this race. And that's why these horses are here. They're looking around like, holy cow, we could run a 92 and get paid 400,000.
Right.
Get them on the track.
And to put it in perspective, anybody who might be listening who knows me or who knows Brandon or our good friend Coach, and Brandon, this is my analogy. In lane 1, we have Brandon Ferst. In lane 2, we have Coach. In lane 3, we have Jim Martinez, Raider Jim, and rounding out the field, Usain Bolt.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that simple.
But it's also the gold medal race in the Olympics, right? Like, it's not built as some little sideshow. It's built as a great, that's.
And for those who don't recall, let's think back to the Kentucky Derby weekend, or shortly after the Kentucky Derby weekend. William Mott said, we're not running the second leg of that, of the Triple Crown. You know why? Our target is the Travers.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there was going to be no Triple Crown winner this year. He said right up front, we're focused on the Travers. Well, here he is. And Sovereignty is 1 1/4 length away from running the table on 6 graded races from October to this coming Saturday. This horse is a dynamo. And unless you've got a second more to take out and put it on this horse, you're not going to make any money. Great horse, great speed, has great speed. But at 2-1, you're not going to collect on that horse either. Strategic Focus, I'm the biggest proponent and fan of Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown. 6-1. But if you look at what Strategic Focus has done, third in its last race, second in its race before that, winner's circle in the race before that. It has gone down in performance each race, but is still 6-1. So I'm with you. Take Bracket Buster and you know, have a beer and hope for the best. But this is really kind of a disappointment, I think.
It is. And again, we like to stay positive. We try to stay positive here. I mean, it's just horse racing. It's really not that serious a lot of the time. But the Travers is one of the top 10 races outside of the Breeders' Cup and Triple Crown. I think that you can look to in the summer slate and go, oof, I don't know who's running there, but that's going to be one that you're going to want to see. And it was like opening up a gift that's 8 feet tall and there's a marble inside. And it's like, oh, I mean, it's a really cool marble. It's like the coolest marble in the world. But you gave me an 8-foot box. I thought I had like a robot or something. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. And I'll tell you what, if any of those 4 horses come out and Sovereignty, runs gamely and loses, we'll come here next week, hat in hand, and say, you know what, fair enough. But I don't think we expect, and there's not even enough horses really to. Anyways. 5 horses in the Travers. Saratoga, it's going to be a very fun Saturday, and hopefully we have a great finish to the Travers or to the Saratoga card. But let's shift our attention to Del Mar. Only one graded stakes race on the card for Saturday at Del Mar, but it is a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup. Oh, hold on. Excuse me. Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. So we got 2 Dirt Mile horses or qualifiers this weekend. Of course, the other was the Forigo. This is race number 9 on your Del Mar card. Of course, the grade 2 Pat O'Brien Stakes. We're going 7 furlongs on the dirt. Okay, so I guess Del Mar isn't running a full mile either. Fair enough. The purse of $250,000. This is for 3-year-olds and up. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Pat O'Brien Stakes?
Yeah, I'm going to take a different approach to this race because one horse, even though I'm the guy who looks at past performances and things and the snapshot, and I will tell you what I don't like is the layoff this horse has had. Now, the 4 horse, Mamam, has had a long layoff. But there's that jockey, the one I mentioned earlier in the program, and I have to see the name or I can't say the name. So forgive me.
I got the last name, but I don't.
Kazushi Kimura. Kazushi Kimura, who's having a great start at Del Mar, is on this horse, and this horse has been blazing during the workouts. Trained by Bob Batford, ridden by the jockey that I just talked about. I think that horse out of the 4 spot is going to finish in the money, no problem. The other one, I think you got to always go with that horse on the rail, Dr. Venkman. I think Umberto Rispoli on that horse, going to see good things. Don't be surprised if they win the race. And then after that, it's kind of interesting. Not a lot of familiarity with some of these, but I do like Topolo out of the 8 spot, and I like Mano Rose out of the 9 spot.
Yeah, Dr. Venkman is obviously the name value of this race, especially at Del Mar. One of the more, poignant graded stakes runners, especially on the dirt. Last ran in the Bing Crosby, ran well, but 4th place. That was, of course, we mentioned earlier, Lovesick Blues, 30+1, shocking everybody. Dr. Venkman went off 3-1 in that race. Again, 4th place, 4.5 lengths off the lead. We don't have morning lines, so it's kind of hard to fully, build a card if you don't have the lines. But I am very intrigued to see how they do or how they handicap or put the odds on the horse you started with, Mayum. Obviously, what we're looking at 16 months off, maybe 17. Terrible. I'm not a math guy. 17 months off. And last time it ran very, very well, but it was an optional claiming, a very good optional claiming. Don't get me wrong, but this is a horse that I think is going to maybe need a race. And I don't know if it comes out 6-1, on the morning line, fantastic. I don't know, because again, it's a Baffert horse, a local jockey, very, very, or at least a jockey that's familiar with Del Mar lately. I really do like that. I'm very interested to see what they do with the 2-horse. I believe it's the 2-horse. Yes. Speedboat Beach, because this is a horse that ran at Santa Anita 3 times back in 2023, took a whole year off, and then began this year in May and ran, well, he ran very poorly. Let's be honest. Ran a 56 while this horse was running 103, 100 back in late 2023. I'm interested to see what they do. It's JJ Hernandez and Bob Baffert. I would love to see this horse at like 4 or 5-1. I do think they are going to probably overreact. Might even be higher than that. Again, I don't know if it's fully going to get onto my board, because it's hard for me to kind of build things out without the morning lines, just because I don't really know if I'm reading things the exact same way. And then the other horse that I am probably going to be interested to see what the odds do. Actually, there's 2 of them. Stronghold and Express Train. These are 2 horses that, especially Express Train, excuse me, 8 years old. This will be race number 27. A Del Mar vet, ran in that San Diego handicap in early July. Didn't run very well, but it was with Mike Smith aboard. Hector Barrios is back aboard. I like Express Train, but I think I liked Express Train in 2022, 2021. So we'll see how the odds go there. Now, Stronghold, this is another horse that looked like it was trending in a great direction, ran very well in the Malibu, went off nearly 5-1 in that grade 1, lost to Raging Torrent, who is an incredible horse in its own right, and then said, you know what, let's go for the big stuff. Went in the Pegasus World Cup Invitational and ran poorly, very poorly to be fair. But again, that's a big time race. You can kind of write it off. I'm interested to see how they treat Stronghold. I could see this horse being 5-1, 6-1. I could see this horse being maybe the 1 or 2 behind Dr. Venkman or with Dr. Venkman, but it'll be very interesting to see how the odds makers deal with a lot of these horses, because multiple that I just talked about have taken years off, so very, very intriguing how the odds makers will treat that. I assume that will be dropping. They'll probably be out by the time this podcast goes. So make sure you go check out Del Mar there. But Raider Jim, time to wrap things up. Our triumphant return went a little longer than we normally like to, but I think you can understand why. But our final thoughts, Raider Jim, you're up first.
No, again, I just want to say to everybody, hope you missed us. I really do. I hope you're glad to see us back. And again, to the captain there, thank you very much for holding my place at the table. Folks, don't you worry. We're going to be with you guys through Breeders' Cup, not just the end of the Del Mar season. We will be with you through Breeders' Cup. We're going to be with you to kick off the NFL season. And then it's only weeks away. We will be with you when the ball starts pounding the hardwood and it's NCAA basketball time. And we're going to take you through all that.
Amen. Yeah, it's going to start to get pretty busy around the First Off the Bench studios. So very, very excited. I'm going to echo what Raider Jim just said. Thank you to everyone, staying patient. It's easy to say, oh yeah, me and Raider Jim, we can find an hour and a half to sit down and talk. That wasn't necessarily the hard part. It's kind of all the stuff, the back end or the front end stuff, I guess I should say, of, being able to, sit down for a few hours and just look at something as, rather irrelevant in our personal lives, like horse racing. So it was great to be back. And again, thank you all so much for your patience. We are going to be with you and, ramping up even more with the NFL getting rolling here in a couple weeks. But there are two things I do want to shout out. Unfortunately, my final thoughts these days always kind of seem to be a little bit on the sad side. But while we were gone, obviously, devastating floods out in Texas. Again, this was probably about 6 weeks ago. So you're all very aware. The cleanup, I know, is still needed. There are a lot of things that are still needed. So as I always say, do your research and see what you can do if you're able, because that was a very devastating situation, and our thoughts and prayers, condolences going out to everyone affected by that horrific incident. And then finally, I do just want to shout out a man who was very, very influential in my life, passed away a few weeks ago. And no, it's not Hulk Hogan. It's Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness. I tip my hat to you, sir. There aren't too many people that can say they completely created. We started this podcast talking about the godfather of horse racing. I think we can say Ozzy Osbourne is the godfather of metal. And as a metalhead myself, I don't know what I would be listening to. I'm sure someone would have done it if it wasn't Black Sabbath, but it certainly would not be as good as it was. So again, what a life. I mean, the fact that man lived as long as he did, wow. Incredible. His body probably needs to be studied, but the way he went out, if you aren't aware, he essentially stopped taking all pain pills for the last, 2 months before his final performance with pretty much everyone on Black Sabbath who was ailing in some way. He ended up raising $100 million for Parkinson's research. And then, within a week later, he passed. He literally, I don't want to say killed himself to put on a good show, but that is the most metal way anyone can go out. So to the Prince of Darkness, I want to say rest in peace, but I feel like he doesn't want to rest. So whatever you got to do it however you want to do it to Mr. Osbourne. And then also shout out to Sharon Osbourne, a woman that stuck by a man when she probably should have left 15, 20, 30 times, but she stuck by that man. Thoughts and prayers to her, the entire Osbourne family, and everyone affected by Ozzy's passing. But with that being said, thank you all so much for sticking with us here on the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon, next week to be exact. Take care.